The story began in a time when a superhero had slowly become someone almost everyone disliked. Most heroes saved the day and earned cheers, but every time he stepped in, he left an even bigger mess behind. He had almost unlimited power, but he never acted like the hero people expected. He spent his days flying around drunk. No matter where he went, trouble always followed. If someone challenged him, he never backed down. A second later, he made sure they regretted it. Everyone nearby watched in complete disbelief. His name was Hancock. Even though he had superhuman abilities, he lived more like a homeless drifter. One day, a young boy woke Hancock up. He said a group of robbers had been exchanging gunfire with the police. He asked Hancock to help. Even though Hancock usually acted carefree, he still stepped in when people needed him. He pushed off the ground, then he shot straight into the sky. It didn't take long for him to reach the scene, but as he flew in, he slammed into a roadside sign and snapped it in half. Then he crashed into several police cars. A moment later, he flew in front of the robber's vehicle and ripped the roof right off. He climbed inside the car and tried to convince the robbers to surrender first, but they ignored him and immediately opened fire. After they emptied an entire magazine, Hancock's sunglasses were shattered, and the bottle in his hand dropped to the ground. Once he realized talking wasn't going to work, Hancock took action. He lifted the entire car, with everyone still inside, into the air. First, he let it fall freely, then he slammed it into the ground. Finally, he kicked the whole car across the city, where it ended up stuck on the top of a skyscraper. Afterward, the police calculated the damage. The robbers had stolen only $900, but the property damage caused during Hancock's rescue reached $9 million. Hancock didn't seem to care at all. The next evening, during rush hour, a car became stuck on the railroad tracks. The driver tried to get out, but his seatbelt jammed. Just then, a speeding train came racing toward him. With a crash seeming unavoidable, Hancock suddenly arrived. He flew straight toward the train. In the end, the driver was saved. But the front of the train was nearly destroyed, and every car behind it was damaged as well. Even though the man survived, the crowd didn't cheer. They believed there had been a much safer way to handle it. Instead, Hancock always chose the most destructive solution. While everyone criticized him, the rescued driver stepped forward. He sincerely thanked Hancock. It was the first genuine thank you Hancock had received in nearly 80 years. For the first time, he realized that someone truly appreciated what he had done. After that, Hancock personally took the man home. That evening, the man invited Hancock to stay for dinner. However, the man's wife, Mary, seemed cautious as soon as she saw Hancock. After dinner, the man handed Hancock a business card. His name was Ray Embry. He worked as a public relations consultant. Ray believed Hancock's real problem wasn't his abilities. It was his public image. To repay him for saving his life, Ray offered to help Hancock rebuild his reputation for free. At the time, Hancock didn't take the offer seriously. Later that night, Ray and Mary talked at home, while Hancock sat alone on a rooftop. A little later, Ray joined him to keep the conversation going. While they were talking, a child suddenly fell from a tall building. Hancock casually caught the child, as if it were no big deal. Then Ray explained Hancock's biggest problem. Every time Hancock saved someone, he left massive damage behind. Then he simply flew away. He might save a whale, only to smash a sailboat in the process. People didn't see a hero. They saw someone who created chaos. After hearing Ray out again and again, Hancock finally agreed to change. He publicly apologized for all the damage he had caused in the past. Then, to earn back the public's trust, he voluntarily turned himself in and went to jail. After that, Ray visited him almost every day. But for Hancock, life behind bars quickly became boring. Before long, he ripped the prison gate off and prepared to leave. Ray told Hancock that if he truly wanted to change, he couldn't quit halfway through. If he walked out now, everything they had worked for would have meant nothing. He said, "You could leave any time, but only if the police came to get you." Without Hancock, crime outside would only keep rising. When people truly needed him, they would finally see him differently. Hancock realized Ray was right, so he stayed in prison. Not long after, a group of bank robbers got into a fierce shootout with the police. The robbers had overwhelming firepower, and the officers couldn't hold them back. Just when things were getting out of control, Hancock was asked to step in. When he showed up again, he looked like a completely different person. His beard was gone, his hat was gone. He was dressed in a sleek black suit. The sloppy image everyone knew had disappeared. After greeting the police captain, Hancock walked straight toward the fight. Bullets flew at him, but none of them slowed him down. He even swatted away a rocket like it was nothing. Then Hancock reached an injured police officer. He carried her with one arm and lifted a wrecked car with the other. Even under heavy gunfire, he calmly got her to safety. Then he shot into the sky and went after the remaining robbers. Before they even realized what was happening, they started disappearing one by one. Within seconds, only the gang leader was left. As Hancock approached, the leader grabbed a detonator and threatened to blow everything up. He also called Hancock an asshole. One of the movie's most memorable lines came next. "Don't call me an asshole. Hancock didn't waste another second. He ripped off a metal lampshade, shaped it into a sharp disc, and threw it. A scream echoed through the building. The hostages rushed out safely. All Hancock was left holding was the robber's hand still gripping the detonator. After that mission, Hancock finally earned the public's respect. His reputation started to change. Watching the news at home, Ray knew the plan had worked. That night, Ray invited Hancock over for dinner. During the meal, Hancock opened up about his past. About 80 years earlier, he had woken up in a hospital. He couldn't remember anything. He didn't know who he was. He didn't know where he came from. No one had ever come looking for him. After that, he turned to alcohol and slowly lost his direction. When Mary heard this, she suddenly broke into tears. She even apologized to Hancock. That unexpected reaction made Hancock suspicious. Later that night, he helped the drunk Ray into bed. Then he went to talk to Mary. He wanted to find out what she was hiding. To test his theory, Hancock tried several things. He stabbed at Mary with a barbecue fork. The fork bent instantly. Then he hit her with a rolling pin. She wasn't hurt at all. Hancock was about to keep going, but Mary stopped him. She didn't want Ray to notice anything strange, so she asked Hancock to meet her alone and promised to explain everything. Later, they met at Hancock's trailer. Mary told him they had been alive for over 3,000 years. She said they shared the same powers. She also explained that their connection was much deeper than Hancock realized. But Hancock didn't believe her. He was convinced she was still hiding the truth. He even warned her that if she kept lying, he would tell Ray she had superpowers too. At that point, the conversation fell apart. The next second, they attacked each other. A full-scale superpowered battle began. They fought from the sky to the ground, then from the countryside all the way into the city. Buildings were damaged everywhere they went. The whole area turned into chaos. After landing downtown, they paused for a moment to keep innocent people out of danger. But Hancock kept provoking Mary. That pushed her over the edge again. Their powers slammed into each other. More buildings were destroyed. Shockwaves rolled across the city. Even the sky began to change. Moments later, a massive tornado formed. With everything spiraling out of control, Hancock had no choice but to keep fighting. The battle only became more intense. They traded blows inside the storm, crashing through lightning and smashing into buildings high above the city. The entire city was shaken by the fight. At the same time, Ray was in the middle of a meeting. Suddenly, two figures streaked past the office windows. Ray rushed over to look. He saw Hancock pinning Mary down. Only then did the fight finally stop. Now that the truth was out, Mary stopped hiding it. She told Ray that she and Hancock had once been together. The movie delivered another key line. "He was my husband." After saying that, Mary walked away. Ray and Hancock were left speechless. Later, Hancock wandered into a liquor store to buy another drink. As the cashier gave him the total, he kept glancing behind the counter. Hancock noticed immediately. In the next second, he pulled a robber out from behind the counter and threw him across the store. Another robber grabbed the cashier and pointed a gun at him. Hancock casually tossed a bag of candy. It hit the robber and sent him flying. But then, a gunshot rang out. Hancock had been shot. He was rushed to the hospital. Mary and Ray arrived as soon as they heard the news. There, Mary finally revealed the whole truth. She explained that they belonged to the same race. They always existed in pairs. The closer they stayed to each other, the weaker their powers became, until they were completely human. The scars on Hancock's body had all come from protecting Mary. 80 years earlier, he had been critically injured. To save his life, Mary had no choice but to leave him. That was why. They had spent decades apart. Just then, the surviving robbers stormed into the hospital to get revenge. Mary stepped in and took the bullet herself. Seeing that, Hancock ripped up a hospital bed and slammed two robbers across the room. Then he carried the injured Mary to another bed. But because they were too close, Mary had already lost her powers. Without immediate treatment, she wouldn't survive. Hancock completely lost his patience. He grabbed one robber and threw him out the window. Then he picked up a wheelchair and knocked another one down. But as his powers kept fading, he grew weaker too. The last robber seized the chance and repeatedly smashed Hancock with an oxygen tank. Even worse, every injury Hancock suffered was affecting Mary as well. Even so, Hancock used the last of his strength to throw that robber out the window. Just when it seemed everything was over, the gang leader appeared again. The man whose arm Hancock had torn off earlier raised his pistol and fired several more shots. After taking those hits, Hancock could barely stay on his feet. Just as the robber moved in for the final shot, Ray burst in holding a fire axe. One swing ended the threat for good. The hospital finally fell silent. But on the other side, Mary had stopped breathing. To save her, the badly wounded Hancock made one final choice. He forced himself out of the hospital. The farther he stayed from Mary, the faster their powers would return. As the distance grew, Mary's heartbeat slowly came back. Hancock's strength returned little by little. Once his powers were restored, he soared back into the sky. In the end, he flew all the way to the moon. A month later, Mary and Ray had returned to a peaceful life. Hancock, however, continued watching over the city from a distance. One night, Mary looked up at the moon and saw a giant heart carved into its surface. She realized that even though Hancock had walked away, he had never stopped protecting her in his own way.